Feasibles is the main reason why Mr. Beast's net worth is actually what it is. It's making so much money. You just need one viral video really to suddenly become a creator and be able to start building a career out of it. People also started realizing follower count is not as important, especially with TikTok potentially, disappearing. It's not just about going viral, but it's about sustainable audience relationships. Being able to sell to your audience means that you can actually build a massive company and brand out of it. My parents were always very frugal, right? So I wanted to figure out how to make money to buy things. During the Thiel Fellowship, I was couch surfing. I was posting referral codes on websites. So my cost of living was extremely low. I was funneling every dollar into the company itself. So we're creating infrastructure to help creators monetize their brand. Our creators have made millions of dollars per year, which has been life-changing for them.
Do you think now is still a good time to become a creator?
I think it's easier than before. I think AI is extremely good at figuring out what's a good hook and what's a good storyline. The hard part, you really need to be consistent. You need to do 20 videos a day if you want to go viral. The problem I see with creators is that...
Lucy, welcome to the podcast show. Great to have you here.
Great to have you too. Thanks for having me.
It's been a while. We've been on touch on, email for some time now, but my first question is, so every time I get back from work, which is 10, 11 o'clock at night, I spend 5 minutes just scrolling through Instagram and Lucy keeps popping up in berries. What is the obsession with berries?
Yeah, so berries for me is my version of meditation. It's really my mind really completely shuts off. And I think it's because I'm so focused on the workout. I think as a founder, no matter how much effort you put into certain things, sometimes you don't know when you're going to solve the problem, right? And working out keeps you sane because it is something where as you consistently put in effort, you will see improvement over time. So I like that personally. I think it's really good for my mental health. I just think it's really fun. It's a really great way to start the day. It keeps me in a routine. I think I'm a pretty disciplined person. No matter how bad I'm feeling that day, I will wake up early and hit berries and get my day started because I know that I'll feel better after as an extra cup of coffee for me in the day.
Awesome. For comparison, and for those who don't know what berries is basically an intense fitness boot camp, right? Slash gym. And, you say discipline. I think I saw you flew from London to LA last night. You have a broken toe and you still went this morning.
Basically, no, it's funny because I've actually I've had broken wrists, I've had broken ankles, and I still will hit berries, and I'll just modify the workout so I'm not injuring whatever body part is injured. So when I had a broken wrist, for example, I was still doing push-ups. So I was doing it with my fists like this, sure that my wrists weren't bending in a weird way.
Crazy, but this is the founder lifestyle, right? We've got to hustle and stay disciplined.
Exactly.
But you've always been you've been a founder and a hustler really since the early stages. So for anyone who doesn't know Lucy, take us back to when you were in kindergarten. I think you were even then starting ideas and startups. Who is Lucy back then, and take us through that journey.
Yeah, I think Lucy has always been a little bit of a troublemaker. My parents were always very frugal, right? So I wanted to figure out how to make money to buy things that they wouldn't let me have. This could be anything from skateboards. I remember I bought a ripstick to Legos, etc. So Lucy back then in kindergarten, I was essentially selling colored pencils, Pokemon cards, etc. on a playground to make money. And then as I grew older, I wanted a pet. My parents didn't let me have a pet, so I discovered this wonderful site called Neopets. And then I started going in online forums and seeing people sell pets for a lot of money. Some pets are going for thousands of dollars. So I started digging more into the internet, and I started learning how to essentially create bots to cheat on Neopets and get better pets, get better items, Neopoints, etc. And I would sell it, and with these dollars earned, I'd either go buy myself something cool, like a skateboard, or I would buy myself a cool pet that I wasn't able to hack per se. So yeah, I just got addicted to that feeling of entrepreneurship, I think, and being able to make money from nothing. I started building more random websites along the way, from my own virtual pet site to arcade game websites, internet marketing tools, etc.
That's crazy. Neopets, these are virtual pets.
Yeah, they're virtual pets. I actually think a lot of people learn to do some basic coding through Neopets and MySpace, in my generation at least.
Wow. Do you know what? I came across this old school company a couple of weeks ago. It's called QQ Pets. It was part of Tencent. Similar idea. They were doing kind of these virtual pets. 2006, in their first year, they had 1 million users. This is just in China, and a year later, they had something like 180 million users. Crazy, right?
Oh, I believe that. Yeah. Now there's so many versions of like these different virtual pets, like even Tamagotchis, right? Like I was
Yeah.
obsessed with Tamagotchis, but a lot of people also have them because I assume it's the same situation as me. They wanted a pet, they weren't allowed to have a pet, so this was the closest thing to like a live pet they could get.
Damn. Okay, so you went from
Hmm.
virtual pets to becoming a Thiel Fellow to then, co-founding Scale AI. What was that kind of
Hmm.
transition and how did that all come about?
Yeah, so I would say when I entered college, I started going to hackathons. At hackathons, I realized there was more to the world than like building internet marketing tools, right? I started to like have this more startup mentality because one of the judgment criterias to like win a prize was like how likely is this to be like a very viable business. Um, and I started thinking, I think larger. Obviously, like there are these tech companies that had come to these hackathons to recruit engineers as well. So I started having like a more app minded brain. Um, and I started thinking larger picture. Um, and then at these hackathons, just building a bunch of things, I kind of discovered the easy way to win back then was just make an iOS app. And because I had a design background as well, I would just make a very pretty iOS app. So my apps looked more polished than everyone else. So even if it wasn't like the most technically complex, I was like winning left and right. So after like going to every single hackathon and winning like a prize at every hackathon I attended, I don't actually think there's one hackathon where I didn't win like a prize. The Thiel Fellowship reached out and they're like, hey, you should apply for the Thiel Fellowship. And I had kind of gotten to know them like in between, I believe, like my senior year of high school and college. So I was like, okay, why not? So I just applied with like, a hackathon project and got in. And then during the Thiel Fellowship, I got to meet a lot of like entrepreneurial minded people my age. I also think it like kickstarted my Silicon Valley journey because people were more willing to like, mentor me or get to know me or help me out essentially because they're like, oh, you're a Teal fellow. So like, I'll give you my time. Right. And yeah, that kind of just accelerated. And then eventually I wanted to build another company. Because my first company in the Teal Fellowship failed, it was like illegal. Essentially, it was a two-sided marketplace for food delivery. So like you could cook food and essentially sell it to other people. We did it in college campuses because it was high density. So you could cook food and just deliver it to like 100 people within an hour very quickly. Like people were making $100 an hour, which is really cool to see. But yeah, as you can imagine, like it's not actually legal. Healthcare, like you need a centralized kitchen that doesn't give you food poisoning to do it. So I moved on, went to Quora, then Snap, and then wanted to start another company. Finally got the itch again, and I felt like I had learned enough. So ended up going into YC and Scale AI was a pivot, but we started off with classless for Clevy and we went to Ava, which was a healthcare app. And then we pivoted from Ava into Scale.
Damn. Okay, so rewind a little bit. The Teal Fellowship. This is basically a group of amazing founders. I think Figma founder. He was maybe in a similar kind of year group to you. But it's basically like amazing founders come together, and I think you get given like 100K or something. How does it work?
Yeah. Yes, it's 100K over 2 years. So you're actually paid monthly. A lot of people think it's 100K lump sum, but it's not. So obviously, like, it's not great living costs, but I had saved a lot from my internships and I was essentially living for free. Like, I was couch surfing. I was like posting referral codes on websites, potentially bankrupting by accident. But like those like referral sites where you get those coupon codes, right? Like I was posting to myself, so people like internet strangers were using these referral codes, and I was making like thousands of dollars in just like free food credit. So like my cost of living was extremely low. So I was funneling every dollar into like the company itself.
What? How do you do this? So you have all of these coupon codes. You're just
Yeah.
distributing
So
them through
like
your like university
yeah, just through
network,
like coupon
or
code websites. Like if you look up like like Lyft coupon codes, there's like tons of websites that show up, right? I would just find startups and distribute the coupon codes on these startups. So of like every food delivery app, like I think there was like Caviar or something, whatever it was called in San Francisco, obviously like DoorDash, etc. Yeah, that's great.
Smart. Damn. Wow. Okay. And then you went into YC, and eventually, co-founding Scale AI. We mentioned earlier that the original idea was the class pass for kind of DJing. Why do you not think that? Why was it just not the right time to launch that, and you had to make a pivot? Was there no demand? Did how far did you guys get?
I mean, class for clubbing was just a bad idea, but I think in general, you build an MVP, you launch it, and you see whether there's adoption or not. Because
Yeah.
people will work through bad UX, et cetera, if they really want a product. And this is a product where, like, when we launched it, the only people signing up were VCs, which means there's just zero demand, right? So we actually pivoted immediately after. And then when we launched Ava, the idea was that we would give people the best access, or like we would tell people which provider was the best provider for like specific health problems they had. So like if you needed a jaw surgery, if you needed a root canal, etc. This is just a bad idea in general, at least like especially in app format, because young people generally don't have problems and young people use apps, and it's not something that is recurring, right? Like you might use it once and then you forget about it, versus like apps are best when you're using it daily or at least weekly. So it was just a bad idea in general. And then we asked YC, we were like, how many doctor's appointments do we need to get to like be a top YC company? And they said like 5,000 or something. And we were like, crap, we need to pivot. So we were calling doctors all the time, and we had wished there were like just an API that would call doctors for us. So we like one of my roommates who was also in YC was like, oh, you mean like an API for humans? And I had built enough like viral apps on Product Hunt at that point in time to know that would go viral. I was like, oh, that's actually brilliant. That's going to go viral because it's so controversial, right? It's like dehumanizing humans. So we, it was fast. We spun up a landing page, spun up an API, and afterwards, every VC was hitting us up, which was cool. And then ended up getting funding for scale.
Damn. Wow. Okay. Wow. So pivoted 3 times and then came to scale. The founding story has been quite well documented, so we're going to keep this like completely open. But Scale AI raised a couple $1 million, and then I think it was a couple of years later. You and your co-founders, decided to part ways, which happens a lot in startups. I think founders go through this a lot, and again, like we'll keep us completely open-minded and only share what you want to share and can share. But when you face co-founder conflicts, and especially for founders, what is the best way to deal with it? And maybe any lessons, you can share with founders who may be going through that at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that like co-founder relationships are like marriages, and communication and role clarity is really everything. There's like very little role clarity with us, whereas like, we were both doing sales. We were both like I was hiring engineers, I was hiring like marketing, etc. But he was also doing sales and like hiring engineers, etc. And I think there's just a lot of tension at like certain points that weren't discussed earlier on, and like we let it build up, right? So I would say like just have the hard conversations early, don't let things compound. And because it is like a marriage, like I would highly suggest like you choose someone that like you've worked with in the past, like actually worked with, not just a friend.
That's always like one of the biggest things, right? I've met many startups over the years. They partner up with their best friends, they partner up with family, but there's always going to be tension at some point, right? And it's okay. Like that's what startups are all about. Mm-hmm. But this led you to founding Passes, which is, I think, really exciting all around the creator economy. So if anyone who doesn't know what Passes was all about, what are you guys up to, and how are you helping creators?
Yeah, so we're creating infrastructure to help creators monetize their brand, which is extremely exciting. Our creators have made millions of dollars per year, which has been life changing for them. The idea, or the goal at least, is that like we'll be able to create a unicorn creator one day. We've seen this trend where creators are the new companies and brands, right? Where creators are getting massive amounts of equity to partner with companies and build a product, because they don't have the typical customer acquisition costs that like I would have if I I want to build a hair care product, right? Yeah. But if I were a creator with tens of millions of followers and I had phenomenal hair that everyone wanted, it would make sense to partner with a new hair care company that gave me 50% to just promote, because I can sell without them having to invest extreme amounts of capital in marketing that they would normally have to do.
So where is Pastors today? You guys launched only a couple of years ago, right? 22. You raised
Yeah,
like
so we
$50
launched
million
December
now.
2022. Yep. Yep. So we raised 50 million. We launched December 2022. I can't give exact numbers, but we're doing well. We have a few thousand creators, and they are generating a lot of money.
This is amazing. We publish an annual creator economy report, and we have done since I think like 2 weeks after COVID came out. And what has been amazing to see, but also frustrating, is like every year the creator economy changes. 21 was very much like the Web 2 platforms, right? Like the chat platforms, creators to fans. Then the following year was like crypto. Remember those? It was like NFTs, tokens, metaverse. Like nothing really happened in that space.
Mm-hmm.
The following year, I think it was like more community, and then it was kind of like whole generative AI space came along. But I think finally,
Mm-hmm.
after like 4 years, it feels the creator economy is starting to materialize a little bit. Where do you think we are in the creator economy space from a startup's point of view, but also creator point of view?
Yeah, so I think from a creator point of view, people are realizing that they really need to own their audience because this is how they can build a long-term brand and really a long-term business. I think that, like, especially with TikTok potentially, disappearing or all that drama around that, creators are like, okay, wow, like direct fan relationships is extremely important. It's not just about going viral, but it's about sustainable audience relationships. I think that when we saw, Kylie build her lipstick, Logan Paul build Prime, Jake Paul build like W and Better, etc., people also started realizing like follower count is not as important as like I think whether they have like a close relationship with their audience, because they're like having a smaller follower account, but being able to sell to your audience means that you can actually build a massive company and brand out of it. I think we're seeing creators really start working with brands and venture funds really to bet on themselves and are no longer just taking cash deals. They're starting to take equity deals, which I'm personally extremely excited about, because I think that's where like long-term generational wealth really comes. Like in the past, when you think about years, it's a good career, right? Like you could make a few million a year. Now people are realizing like, oh, like I can get to like similar wealth levels that like a tech entrepreneur get to if I play this game correctly.
Totally. And it's all just happening so quickly, right? So I know this is one of the trends we're going to talk about later on. But it's still so hard to become a creator, right? And I think especially in the US, it was like 70, 80% of high school graduates, want to become creators. Do you think now is still a good time to become a creator? Is it still as easy as it was before or harder?
Interestingly enough, I think it's easier than before. The reason being that the algorithms have gotten better. Like Instagram Reels, TikTok, so discovery is easier. You just need one viral video really to suddenly become a creator and be able to start building a career out of it. Versus in the past, it was harder to really build up that audience level. I think that the hard part is really just like discipline. You really need to be consistent and be willing to put out videos that you may not like, that aren't perfect to you, but could hit. The problem I see with creators is that they really care about like their craft, aka care about perfection. So they might make like 20 videos and not post a single one of them, which is bad because at the end of the day, you need to be making like 20 videos a day if you want to go viral. Because the video that you might think is imperfect could be the one that's a hit, and it is a numbers game.
Yeah, it's something like we do as well. For every newsletter we write or podcast we publish, if it's not 100% perfect, I feel apprehensive about publishing it. But then we had like Naz Daily on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he pivoted all of Naz Daily from human, created content all to AI. And I think in the last 2 months, he was saying 250 million views just from all AI generated content. So I think we're going to see like a whole new generation of new types of creators, right? It's becoming easier, but we're going to see maybe a new new types of creators come out creating new types of content. What do you reckon?
I agree. Yeah, and I think AI is going to help people make videos as well, because like even at passes, we're using AI to help generate like scripts. I think AI is extremely good at figuring out like what's a good hook and what's a good storyline, and what could potentially go viral. And it helps, like especially if a creative block, helps you get past that. So what could
Totally.
have been like the amount of time it would take to create one video, you can maybe make 10 videos now. So I do think that this is going to essentially lower the barrier of entry to becoming a creator as well.
Totally. I also think, with all of these creator startups, we haven't really seen that many explode, right, in the last 4 or 5 years. If you look at all of these AI companies, there have been so many which have really exploded just in the last year, last 2 years. We haven't seen that many in the creator economy space, which is a little disappointing. What do you reckon? Like, is this going to change? Are we just going to see a whole bunch of new creator startups which are more AI focused, and those are the ones which are going to really explode? You see what I mean?
So I do think that AI creator startups will explode, but in terms of like just the number of creator startups, I actually don't think so. And my hypothesis here is that engineers aren't necessarily interested in working the creator economy. And I can see why too. Like it's very Hollywood esque, which is appealing to most top engineers. And I think the best startups are created by the best engineers, right? So when you don't have as many engineers interested in working on a problem, you're just going to have less startups explode. That being said, I think it's a huge space. It's just a space that requires a lot of patience, and just a new environment that people might not be used to, versus, building something else.
For sure, right? And I also think, like, I
Yeah.
mean, when I think of passes, your the likes of Patreon, there's fanfics, there's OnlyFans, and I'm probably missing like a bunch of others. How do you position yourself as? I kind of feel the other platforms I just mentioned, they're all catering for different categories, different types of creators, but some of them really haven't changed at all in the last like 2 to 5 years. How is passes really, staying ahead of the curve and innovating
Yeah.
so quickly?
Well, I mean, I think that like the approach we are taking is again like infrastructure to help creators build their brand and their business. So this means creating more tool sets for them to be able to monetize. This means thinking about how they reinvest their money. This means thinking about like how we can support them, to be able to like leave their current job and become a creator. So one example is like health insurance, right? Like we're partnering with a health insurance company to be able to give them the best health insurance possible, because when you leave a company you might get cobra for a few weeks, but then suddenly you don't have health insurance. So it's just like one small example, but we're really thinking about just like the end to end for creators. So like, okay, so like here finally you're starting to monetize, like how do you reinvest that money and grow your long-term wealth, whether it's invest in companies like startups, because we've created a lot of accredited investors, or whether it's building a brand out of it. Like we work with creators on like figuring out, okay, like this is a white labeled product that we should be working on with you. Obviously, we can't do that with every single creator, but like for one's audience, like it makes sense, to like, okay, how do we support you with like health insurance, et cetera, et cetera. And I think like most of these platforms both aren't moving as quickly as us, so they have significantly less features, but also they aren't thinking about the end to end for a creator.
Totally. And I also think it's important to think kind of long term, but also innovate fast. But I love what you just mentioned. Like you're actually taking care of the creators personally as well, like the insurance and
Mhm.
really helping them with the day to day. That I think is something more creative platforms should be doing. Like if I think of all of the creative platforms which we know, right? How many of them actually care about the creator actually versus just looking after them? That's pretty nice.
Yep, and I think the creator
How
economy is very like I think with tech companies, like you think about retention. I think with the creator economy specifically, there's a lot of emotional retention versus platform retention, where if they trust you and they feel like
Mm,
you aren't going to screw them over and you are their friend, um, they're less likely to leave, and
I
they're
agree. Do you
more likely to
guys
put in effort.
exactly right? And refer it's like this whole like network effect as well, right? Because they'll start referring all their creative friends. Um,
Exactly.
how, which is good, right? How do you? Something I think about is creative pricing. So it feels like on a lot of these creative platforms, you have the one business model, which is like the take rate. So you just take a commission of the revenue earned, but also you just charge a straightforward subscription. How does pastors think about that short and long term?
Yeah, I think that we want to be competitive in the market. So for our marketplace product, which is where you can, sell downloadable PDFs, you can sell event tickets, you can sell merchandise, etc. We actually just lowered our fees to a 0% take rate. Because we can, right? Like we did the math and we're like, okay, like we are able to do 0%. And we have some fees on the fan side that cover credit card transaction fees. But outside of that, it's like, okay, cool. Like everything is good. Like we want to help creators get the most money into their pockets. So that's how we're really thinking about the business model.
And the other types of products you offer, would you do subscription kind of long term? Is it take rate? Are you doing like a combination,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is, probably
Yeah.
a good approach as well?
Yep. So right now we do take rate. So our base product is a 10% take rate, but there's no hidden fees. So a lot of people will advertise a lower fee, but then you get charged for like when you pay out, you get charged per like purchase, et cetera, that a fan makes. Our 10% is blended, which is I believe one of the lowest, if not lowest, in industry. We're constantly evaluating what makes sense though. So, like if one day we're like, oh, subscription makes more sense, then like there's a chance we move to that. But at the moment, it feels like the take rate feels the lowest risk for creators because it's just like they get to keep the majority of the revenue that they're making and they don't have to like they won't lose money, right? Like it's a win-win.
Yeah, I think it's amazing for most creators, but then when you're like the Mr. Beast of the world or you're the top 1%, right? If you're earning a
Mm-hmm.
million, $5, $10 million on a platform, giving away 10%, okay, it's maybe not a lot to them, but they're still quite high, right? Do you think we're going to see
Mm-hmm.
a shift where as soon as you reach some form of threshold, there's going to be a cap or there's going to be a different form of monetizing for those top 1%?
I think potentially.
Yeah.
I don't really have an answer right now, but I do think that, like, for example, if someone were making that much, like, it might make sense, for example, to cap it or even do a subscription model, but we would probably want to work with that person on creating a product. Like, Feastables is the main reason why Mr. Beast's net worth is actually what it is. Like, it's his main focus because it's making so much money. And like we would want to do something similar with that creator. And that's probably where we would, do the operations and ask for equity. Because creators are like, they don't really want to focus on like the ops of business. Like they really enjoy creating and relating to their audience. So that's probably the play for someone bigger like that.
Exactly. What Mr. Beast has done is just incredible, just in the last
Mm-hmm.
10 years. Do you think it's still possible for any creator to become of that size?
Absolutely, yes. I think we're going to see platforms like new social platforms that we can't even like think about emerging, right? Like Mr. Beast was the OG YouTuber, but then TikTok created the D'Amelios, and they have like a reality TV show amongst other things. Addison Rae is now a pop star. I
Exactly.
think that there's going to be new forms of social media that like we can't even imagine today that will create new stars as big.
Cool. But there's also going to be, and it's probably just like any category, right? You're going to see creators come in and go. You're going to see new creators, but then we're going to see some of the OGs who maybe just want to take a break. Like I think we saw this with like Emma Chamberlain, Casey Neistat, like doesn't do it as much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Do you just think that this is the way the creator economy is?
I think at some point people find a more lucrative opportunity than creating
Mm,
content. So, like, I can't speak to how well Chamberlain Coffee is doing, but from what I hear, quite well. And that's just an example of like funneling your focus into something new, right?
exactly. You guys raised pretty quickly, I think. I'm only talking 3 years ago. I think your first round was like $9 million or something.
Yeah,
And you
correct.
raised this in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it was like a week or two. It was honestly a few days to start, and then the like if we're talking about like closing, like when like the last money came in, I would say like 1 to 2 weeks.
That's amazing. And so for context
Yep.
for the listeners, you were running like a venture fund, right? And kind of between scale
Hmm.
and passes. And we're going to chat about this around why creators should be launching maybe their own venture funds or their own startups. But I guess your LP base were pretty supportive of you
Mhm.
also, launching your own company?
Yeah, I would say they were extremely excited. They're like, please, yes, go do a company, but like let us invest first,
That's
which is
amazing.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And then your second round was like $40 million last year, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Where so Passes, where you are today, there hasn't really yet been a creator economy company which has gone public. Is Passes going to be maybe the first?
I mean, is that true? Like, technically, I would call Snap as part of the creator economy. I would call Meta as part of the creator economy to some
Okay,
degree. I like, yeah, I like Instagram is really like, you know.
okay, if we take away like the social media platforms, where it's true
Mhm.
like creator economy kind of like engagement.
Got it.
Um,
Yeah. I
you
mean,
know,
I think there hasn't been one that has gone public because the timing of when it was probably best to start this. I do think like timing is everything with startups was probably in 2020. Like we saw a trend where creators were losing brand deals. They saw like inconsistent income, et cetera. And they started realizing the value of direct fan to creator relationships. And given that that was like 5 years ago, usually like going public takes like 20 to 10 to 20 years. Um, so I think that like there will be creator economy companies that go public, but just there hasn't been enough time yet.
and I mean, Pulse is only a few years old, right? So
Yeah.
let's see, maybe in 5, 6 years. But is that like,
We'll see. Yeah.
that's maybe the big opportunity?
Yeah, I would love to go public.
Yeah, cool.
Hmm.
Let's help you make it happen. With AI now changing so fast, there are new startups kind of cropping up every five, just every day. How are you staying on top of like just the whole AI buzz?
Yeah, I would say I'm just so ingrained in the tech community that people are constantly sending me new research articles, et cetera. I'm friends with a lot of founders. So you're really the average of the people you hang around with most. And when I'm hanging around with pretty much, I hang out with a lot of tech entrepreneurs, I'm constantly learning just from them. Um, I stay close to builders. I play with products. I invest, which helps because you're getting pitch decks all day long. So I would say like I stay on top of it just through conversations.
It's so hard, right? I mean, even keeping up with the latest startups, the latest funding news, the latest AI trends is
Hmm.
so hard, but I think is so exciting. But then on the flip side, there are a few concerns, right? And a few challenges. Any concerns that you're like, concerned about, anything like which is top of mind for you?
Yeah, I think misinformation and abuse of data is probably the top reason for me, especially within the creator economy. When you talk to creators, they really dislike AI. The reason being, they're worried about the misuse of their data. So deep fakes, for example, without their permission, et cetera. And this is really a concern that like everyone should be worried about. Like I'm terrified of like someone deep faking me. Deep fakes are getting to the point where I mean, it blows my mind that people don't realize they're fake. But I don't know if you've seen the like video of these cats and dogs doing Olympic diving, but the amount of people that think it's real is crazy. Or like
Totally.
cat skydiving. I'm like, you guys can't possibly believe this is real. But you can
Totally.
imagine how the world can become quite dangerous when like politicians are being deepfaked and spewing incorrect facts, etc. So that's probably where I'm most scared. Um, and you're seeing the effects within like memes right now today. Like
Exactly.
people can't tell the
I
difference between like deep fake and real
It's
life.
super hard. Like even I was watching a video last night, 2 days ago, and I was
Hmm.
convinced. And I've seen a lot of like these AI videos and startups now, right? And I thought it was real, but actually it wasn't. But there are
Hmm.
actually now some cool AI startups emerging where it will work with creators and they will notify them like immediately if they've seen any replicated content or replicated videos.
Hmm.
I think that's really cool. Um, but I think like summarizing the AI opportunity for creators, I think one thing that it has allowed is, creators can now translate their content, right, into any language
Hmm.
using their voice. So if Lucy can only speak English, she can now translate her content into any, language
Yep.
using her voice. I think that's amazing. And you know what's really annoying? I had this idea like 4 or 5 years ago when we first started like writing about the creator economy. And I was like, oh, this is not going to go anywhere. So pause it. But like the likes of 11 Labs are doing super well. And I think it's a cool opportunity.
It's funny because one of the first things we thought scale would be used for was first transcribing and then translations. So, because everyone needs to transcribe a video. Once you transcribe it, you can translate it. And the only reason it wasn't, done was because I was the one basically doing all the tasks, initially. And I was very bad at transcribing videos.
It's okay.
Yeah.
But I think it's pretty amazing. We've seen other creators who could only now, speak Hindi or French or Italian or Thai where I'm based. But they can be truly be global. And I think that's really exciting. So we'll see. You've also been a bit of a savvy angel investor. 100 companies, I think you've done now, 100 plus.
Yep.
And your what's the gem
Ramp's the winner.
in the crown?
Yeah.
Oh,
Ramp is definitely the gem. And that's where, my hypothesis has always been invest in the best engineers. And I was a huge fan of their previous product. So when I heard they were starting a new company, I was like, I just have to invest, don't really even care what it is. So flew in to meet the founders and then managed to beg my way into the round. And then, our thing was we helped them hire some of their early stage people, and that those hires did incredibly well for the company and helped scale the company. So then when their next round came, they're like, you can have any allocation you want. We should have put in a lot more money. That's my biggest regret, but added in a few hundred more K, and that investment's doing incredibly well.
Wow, that's amazing. I think they raised recently, and I reached out to Eric last night actually, trying to get him on the show. So Eric, if you're listening, come on the show.
Eric's great.
But hey, this has been awesome. So we talked about the founding story of Scale AI passes. And the second part of the show is where we love to talk about the next big tech trends our guests are most excited about. So the concept is pretty simple. We have a couple of trends here, which we're going to talk about and, jam around, any core businesses which could be created from those. So the first one is around, creators partnering with brands and how do they get equity in companies? How is AI going to be used across industries to save time? And the third is around, AI safety, especially examples with Waymo in the US. So the first one we've actually also been thinking a lot about, which is around, how do creators get ownership? How do they, also be part of this new generation of wealth over the coming years? What are you thinking here around, creators partnering with brands or venture funds and becoming meaningful equity holders?
Yeah, so I think it makes more sense for them to work with established brands versus building their own. I think creators are best at being creators and not operating. So if I were to build a company around this, I'd probably do it as a studio model, where either I start a venture studio similar to Atomic, and if I have certain products I want to build, I would find the right creator to partner with, ones that I think actually has an engaged audience, super fans. That specifically admire a certain trait about them. I think it's very important to look at just demographics of kids as well. Are they able to afford a certain product, or could their parents afford that product? So Mr. Beast, for example, with Feastables, it's a bunch of kids, so their parents are buying the kids candy, but that's a market. But if he were to create something else, I don't know, a hair product, that probably would completely flop. So I think it's important to choose the right creator with the right demographics for products. Other than that, I think I would just work as an agency model where I would go scope out these early stage companies that didn't have a lot of funding, but needed to go to market, because those people because it really does cost millions of dollars in marketing to really go to market, I think. And because if they don't have that much funding, they're going to be more willing to offer creators meaningful equity. For example, we wouldn't offer a creator 50%. It just doesn't make sense for us, right? We were talking to some of the biggest celebrities in the world, and the max I was even thinking about was 1%, if not significantly less. But a CPG product that doesn't have much funding, that really needs to go to market, and where a creator could make make it or break it for them, like they could be willing to give 50%. And I've actually talked to companies, they come to me actually. Like I have a skincare company that like came to me and they're like, hey, like we need to find a creator to partner with. We're willing to give them 50%. And it was like some famous scientists in like Germany making this skincare product. So I think there's an opportunity there from an agency side as well as like from a creator incubator, like studio side.
Interesting. Yeah, we haven't seen like that many yet. And we were chatting before, like around, is there an opportunity to create some form of collective where you get 50 to 100 creators together, you're getting access to the best startups. And this is more for creators to invest in startups to, get on the cap tables. But no one's really done that yet at that scale, I don't think, more on the B2B side versus the consumer side. But I think that could be like pretty interesting, especially with like newsletter writers, B2B creators. There might be
Yeah.
something there.
I think it's interesting only if they get enough ownership. I think like a lot of venture funds actually made this mistake where they grabbed a few creators and then they try to get into startups and use the creators' audience as a reason for why they should get allocation in the company. But like if you're a creator and you're investing in like 100 different companies, you can't support all 100 companies, right? Like that's not realistic because it diminishes your brand. And because these creators weren't willing to hype up all 100 companies they invested in, these venture funds ended up getting like a pretty bad reputation because they weren't living up to their promises. I think where creators like are willing to risk their brand and reputation is when they have enough ownership, where it really is like, oh, I can like make millions of dollars off of this, if not billions of dollars. So at that point, you're looking at like at least I think for creators like for them to wrap their mind around it. Like I think 10% is like a ridiculous amount to give up, to be honest, as like, a founder myself. But I do think that for creators to wrap their minds around it, you're looking at like that 10% plus mark.
Do you think for any startup who's looking to partner with a creator, is the expectation the creator should also be investing in that startup? Or is it more of a equity versus RB or marketing person for you?
I think it's usually equity. I'm not really seeing creators invest in companies.
Yeah. I think that's pretty
They should.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Hopefully,
we have
right?
creators that like begged us to join our Series A.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I think we'll see more of
Mhm.
this. More startups, allowing creators to be on their cap table, but also just really basic things like operators, right? There's no point in having a
Mhm.
cap table just filled with VCs if you don't have like any truly like experienced operators, especially like the pre-seed seed stage. I think is always,
Yep.
hopefully, a good thing to have.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So we've kind of, talked about the first trend, which is getting creators, more part of this, future generation of wealth. So the second trend we're going to talk about, which is, how is AI being used across all industries to save time? And for context for the listeners
Yep.
and viewers, we published one of the first generative AI market maps like a week after ChatGPT came out. This was only 3 years ago, and so much is happening, right? Generative AI agents last year. Now it's vibe coding. What's happening in this, whole productivity AI tooling space?
Yep. I mean, I've seen a lot. I don't know if you've seen Captions AI, but like AI is helping creators really just
Yeah.
edit their videos faster. I think AI is helping creators come up with scripts. For example, like I said, we do it on our plot. Like when we make videos, it's helping them figure out trends faster and like what to exactly say. It's some creators are using AI to really generate like digital twins of themselves, which I think is probably the more interesting thing that's happening. Like I see the future being creators licensing out their likeness essentially to brands, so they no longer have to actually like fly out to a studio, create the video, etc. It's cheaper for brands. It saves creators time, so they can focus on actually creating videos and like content and focusing on the relationships with fans. I think this is the most controversial part of AI. But at the end of the day, I think within like 5 years, creators will accept this. But we are seeing creators do that today because they're realizing how much money there is to be made doing that, along with like how much time they're able to save.
It's just happening so quickly. And again, like there are so many cool tools cropping up, but I think
Mm-hmm.
there are still like a bunch missing, right? If you weren't founding passes today and building passes, what other type of, creator startup would you go and build, which is in the AI space?
We're really building everything with passes. Like I would say, if I were to focus on a feature that weren't a platform, the first thing I would actually focus on is like creating realistic versions of digital twins, and then creating a product where I would be able to like sell to Celsius. So I'm like, okay, cool, like it's like $500 for like a photo of this creator holding a Celsius can, and being able to automatically generate different versions, and then the creator and the brand like mutually approves which is used. I was like, we do want to do this to passes. It's just like not the main priority right now. But if I were building another tech company today, I would start off with that.
That's a cool idea. You guys should do that.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot of
Oh,
appetite.
yeah, we are. We're playing around with different models right now. It's just like, it hasn't been a focus, right? So
Yeah, it's
I would
coming.
say like our versions right now aren't human-like enough. Like we want it to get to the point where like you can't tell if they have.
That's amazing. I think another opportunity potentially is around, especially with YouTubers that, how do YouTubers, content perform the best by automatically like changing the thumbnails every day, every hour. I think there's still like some cool opportunities in that space. I know Spotter, I don't know if you know those guys, Spotter Studio, they do something interesting like helping creators
Yeah.
to create thumbnails, but no one's
Yeah, I
like
just
cracked that
acquired a
yet.
company where you can just upload a bunch of photos, and then it's like an AI Snap tool where it'll automatically create like the sets to upload onto Snap and captions, etc., to really optimize performance.
Cool. We should be using
Yep.
that. Let us know
Yeah,
afterwards.
it 3x a lot of our creator Snap views actually, which is
Oh,
cool.
cool.
Which is cool to see.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Super cool. Okay, so maybe let's jump to the third trend, which is around safety. I think we're going to see a lot change here in the next few years. We were talking about here, how do we improve safety, especially in the US, you got Waymos are now popular than Uber, which I actually didn't realize. I think this is just going to change so much, and it's going to be a big impact. What are you thinking?
Yeah, definitely. And I was just talking to my friends the other day who I like everyone has had a bad Uber incident. Everyone that I know has had like one bad Uber incident at least. So I think it's extremely interesting that like Waymos, at least in San Francisco right now, are more popular than Ubers. But what I think this trend will actually create like globally is that people are not going to be living in cities as much because it's no longer inconvenient to live in the suburbs, like cheaper cost of living, etc. Or maybe you just want like a quiet suburb environment, but you can't because you need to get to work in the city. I don't know. Waymos are going to make it way more convenient where like on the way to work, you could just, or like just automated self-driving cars in general. You could be working, like you can imagine there could be like buses with like workout equipment that like, are self-driving to like the place of your destination. So I think like city infrastructure and suburb infrastructure are going to change, which we'll see like if that prediction is correct or wrong. But like, with like if self-driving cars were everywhere, like I can even see myself like not living in the center of the city because I'm only here for
Really?
convenience.
Wow. I mean, I'm really interested in these kind of self-driving cars to see how it works in more densities. Like I live here in Bangkok, like I was saying to you at the start of the show, and self-driving cars in a very chaotic city where the driving here is questionable. It'll be
Mm-hmm.
interesting to see how that works.
Yeah,
Here,
but if 100%
Philippines,
of the cars in a city were self-driving, then it wouldn't be questionable driving anymore.
for
They'd
sure.
probably be pretty good at navigating around. Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. Early days.
Mhm.
Wow, Lucy, what a cool story. Thank you so much. Such a cool story, and just what you guys have achieved, and really like just a short period of time, I think is really exciting. So can't wait to see where passes go next. For anyone who wants to reach out to you, find out more about passes, where can they find you?
They can just go on Instagram and then passes handle is just passes. My handle is just Guo for it. So it's my last name for it. Like go for it. Fun stuff. And yeah,
Awesome, Lucy. Thank you so much.
awesome. Thank you. Have a great day.
Cool.